Hello, friends. Welcome and namaste. Crystal Joy Johnson of CJoyYoga. We're going to look at rolling out a little bit today, some of the big leg muscles. So you could use a rad roller. I have yoga therapy tune-up balls. They're the one that I purchased of choice, but they're at my house, which are two separate balls that are in this little bag that keeps them together. For years and years and years, I just bought a 3 pack of tennis balls. I would use two tennis balls tied in an old sock, and it works brilliantly. It's incredibly cheap, etc. If you only have a foam roller, that would also work. You could play with that as well. Again, I'm just using the tools that I have at hand. And then go ahead and just put that tool by your side for a second. Find yourself in your upright posture. And as I say that, I'm realizing I want to be on a block. Whenever you have your hips on the ground and your knees are higher than your hips, it's a pretty hard position for the pelvis and low back to try to maintain and or to bring the pelvis into an upright posture. So that's just food for thought. And as you sit and try to find the middle of the buttocks bones, that long spine, take a few moments and notice the muscles of the legs specifically. Anything you notice, yeah, for sure, right? But since we're going to be working with the calves, the quads, the IT, the hamstrings kind of area, you might just notice what's happening in those particular areas. Let's start to cultivate a breath that moves us towards the relaxation response. Soft belly, slow the breath down, smooth the breath out. And then go ahead and open your eyes. So I talk about this being a really great one for post activity, and it is. But I also think of this stuff. I go in and out of phases, but I feel like when we're doing it on a regular basis and not just doing it when we're in pain because we've done something big, the muscles are less likely to have as much pain when you do activity. So, yeah, no, you might play with that. So, your foam roller, your rad roller, I'm just going to call it your setup, right? Have it a little bit above your Achilles tendon on one of your legs. It doesn't matter which leg. The other foot is going to be on the floor, and you'll notice my hands are behind me. That way, I have 3 paws, right, in which to push down to lift my buttocks and just start to roll a little forward and back. And I'm not going to get the entirety of the calf with this. If I really wanted to, I could, right? You could play with it. I personally like to be in one spot where I don't have to do as much muscular work in the rest of my body and just kind of rock and roll through that bottom part of the calf. Now I'm going to pick my leg up and I'm going to externally rotate my thigh. My toes point out to the side. And I'm going to see if I can't start to work into the muscles that start to run up the side of the calf. And again, for me personally, I'm just going to stay in my lower leg and then I'll move up and I'll do the upper leg, the upper part of the lower leg in a little bit. And again, when you get back down by that heel, you might lift up and you might try to internally rotate a little bit. So the toes point into the midline and go ahead and start to roll through that. Be careful your shoulders aren't too crazy tense, your jaw's not locked, all the things, right? I like to, well, it's funny. I like to. For years, I would just move fast and it's like, yep, got to do it, get it done. But there's something about the intention we set, right? And moving a little bit slower that lets our body know, oh, we want to relax. We want to slow down. We want to create healing. I'm going to come back to the center one more time. And then I'm going to either move my whole body forward or I can just pick up the ball and move the ball a little bit back. And then from about where the top of the last part I worked, up even further towards my knee. And I'm just going to take that right through the middle part first. Of course, you can be turning and moving as you go, right? You do you. I'm not in your body. I don't know what's best for you. I'm going to pick up and I'm going to rotate, externally rotate, and try to move a little bit more through the back and outer side. I'm going to pick up and go into internal rotation and see if I can't get a little bit more towards that inner part of the gastrocnemius. And let's just leave it at that for now. We'll try to get into this other part from a different position. You might just take a second before you do the other side. Notice sensation in whatever leg you did just work on, but also, you know, is a great time to contrast it to what's happening on the other side. I'm going to start on the other leg. I'm just turning my body so you have the view of the leg I'm working on is closer to the camera. I'm going to start near my ankle, in the middle, and roll. I'm going to pick up and externally rotate and roll. I'm going to roll a little slower. I'm moving pretty fast, I'm realizing. I'm going to slow my breath down, inviting that relaxation response in my body, which is where my healing occurs, right? I'm going to move into internal rotation and roll yet again. Hello, beautiful body. Thank you for everything that you do. Holy moly, what a body. And then I'm going to move either my body forward or the balls back a little bit and start in the center. At some point in time, move that leg into external rotation and roll again. Where's the most sensitive, tender part for you? We might have already hit it. Maybe we haven't hit it quite yet. Go ahead. Internal rotation. These are just some inquiries we can bring into it, right? So that we really work that inner witness. We develop, not work. We develop that inner witness. And then come back to center. Pause and just notice those beautiful calves and how they're feeling now that they've both been rolled out. So sticking with the lower leg initially, we're going to come onto hands and knees. If you need a little bit of padding, you could put a pad underneath your knees. I'm not going to for this one because I like to have the full weight of or the full pressure of the balls. So when I come onto it, right, I don't want to necessarily be right on the calf bone. So if your calf bone is wide and getting hit, you might do it separate and just do it to the side. But otherwise, I'm going to put one of my legs. And that's why I like this tool over the foam roller, right? Is that I have this ability to have a little kind of gap in between the two balls where my bone, whether that's my spinal column or here in the lower leg, I don't know if it's the tibia or the fibula right now that part I don't actually know. I'm just gonna roll. And then I'm gonna do that on the other side. Trying to get into that muscle particularly that is just to the side, the outside part of that bone. And speaking of that part of the leg, right, we're going to try and get into this. This is a pretty important muscle. It connects in the underneath the ball of the foot and it comes up and it's through the knee. So it can have a lot of uh, effect on feet and knees. And of course, then it goes up to hips, low backs, etc. So to get into that one, I don't know, there's probably a better way that I don't know, but I'm going to be on my side body and I kind of am resting the side of my calf on that. And then I could move my whole body and like lift my weight up, but I personally just like to kind of move my shin bone. If I need more weight, right, you could always maybe bring the body up and bear down a little bit And then you're getting a little more weight into that. And see if you can't get into that muscle that runs right on the kind of front side of the shin bone. I'm realizing I need a little more pressure, so I'm going to be in this strange position. And I'm going to come down. I'm on my legs go out in front of me. And it's almost like I was going to be doing cross-legged to start. And that might work for you, right? You kind of find the angle of the balls that you can just kind of move back and forth. And again, if you feel like you do need more pressure, I can bring that other leg back down and come up onto my hands and that back knee to roll into and through. My brain's a little slow this morning, so if it seems like, wow, she's not real sharp, yep, you're right. It's true. Okay. And then let's come off of that and just notice, for me, the calves are tender, but that muscle is usually one of the more tender. And when I go see my chiropractor about my hip stuff, but my knees are talking to me every once in a while, whenever the knees are talking, it stems from the hips, but because of certain things happening in the hips, these muscles overfire. And almost always, if I roll these muscles out, it starts to relieve the pressure in my knees. You might have a similar experience, if not that, into your foot, etc. Okay. So now we're going to look at the thighs, the big old thighs. So same kind of idea, right? Where I'm going to start on my buttocks. I'm going to put those balls down kind of by my knee. You can determine whether or not you want to go into the knee or if you want to leave the knee out of it, the back of the knee, and just kind of glide across the back of the leg. And then I'm just going to, when I get about halfway up, move my whole body a little forward, and then I'm going to roll more towards that upper part. I'm going to go down towards my knee, and I'm going to externally rotate and maybe put a little more pressure into the side that I'm trying to roll into. I might even lift my hips a little bit with that, my hands on my other foot, and roll. Sorry, I'm so not saying this all that well today. And then maybe roll a little forward and try to get more towards that kind of back and side where that kind of juncture comes together. Okay, now we're going to bring it over to the other side. Again, starting probably more towards the knee, but you can do you and I will do me. Just be willing to play and explore, right? I'm going to move my body a little bit so that ball can go up even a little higher on that thigh. This one is where it might be more beneficial to have one of those foam rollers. So I'm going to externally rotate my thigh and also just kind of lay a little towards that outer side of the leg and try to see if I can't get, again, I'm kind of going in that strip that's the outer hamstrings over towards the IT band-ish, something like that. And you might move up and do that a little bit further up the leg. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and flip my body and see if I can't get a little bit into my quads. So if I come onto my belly and I start with those balls or a foam roller kind of above my knee a little bit, right? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come onto, I like my forearms rather than my hands for this one. And then I'm going to move, find out where that knee, that other knee needs to be where I can still bear some weight. So it's a little bit like I'm doing a plank almost, right? And you just do smaller rolls. You might curl the toes under of the leg you're not rolling out and lift the knee, and that might give you a little bit more mobility. And then I'm going to move my whole body down so that I have the balls a little bit more square in the middle of my quads. And again, my brain's not working real well, so there might be an easy way to do this. If you know of it and you want to do it, do it. And then I'm going to go up to that top part. And I'm going to see if I can't roll out that top part a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to go to that other thigh. And this will be the last of our rolling. You could go into, well, it's funny. Some people say don't roll the IT band. Some people believe in rolling the IT band, all kinds of things. So you could keep rolling all kinds of things. But this is just some of those bigger muscles that when you're walking a lot, running a lot, I just got done with a big hiking trip, right? You can start to kind of play with these muscles. And again, it's almost like I'm doing a forearm push up. I can bring the knee down if that feels like too much. If I curl my toes under and lift the knee a little bit, I have just a little bit longer of a roll, right? Than if my knee is down. But whatever works for you. I'm gonna move my whole body back a little bit. So I'm a little higher up my thigh. And I'll breathe that one more time. And then I'm gonna suggest, if you can, that you just, yeah, I'm out of breath, that you just move the balls out of the way. Lay in crocodile for just a couple of breaths here. Get space at your hip joints, soften the body, and just notice what it feels like in the lower body, having now rolled up some of those major muscles. Now you can stay here, you can keep rolling. If you're on a time commitment, go ahead and push yourself up, use your belly muscles. Find yourself in an upright posture. And as we bring our hands together, bow on the head, thankful for these grateful for these amazing bodies. Try that again. And I have gratitude for you as I've been a little slow trying to teach and my brain and my tongue not working together this morning. Namaste. Ah, may you be well, friends.